So today I'm looking at the Google My Business Knowledge Panel. The Knowledge Panel, that's that kind of panel, that information that appears on the left-hand side if you do a brand search. So if you search for your company, or if you go to Google Maps and you search for a company there, you'll find that then this knowledge panel, this information about your business comes up and it's presented. But if you notice, sometimes it changes. And also, have you ever wondered, where does it all come from? Where do they get all that bits of information from? Well, obviously, the majority of it comes from your Google My Business listing. So a lot of the information you've put in over the last few days will appear in the knowledge panel. But the knowledge panel is made up of all sorts of things. It's like a scrapbook from Google. It's like a Picasso piece of art, where bits come from here, bits come from there, like a scrapbook put together. And some of it you can control, and some of it you have no control over whatsoever. Some businesses even get bits of Wikipedia brought in, reviews from Apple, reviews from Yale. It could be its information from booking companies. It could be its information from your website even is brought in to make this scrapbook about your brand or your business. So if you can't control that, then there could be things appearing that you may not want there. So today I'm going to reveal to you where everything comes from, the things you can control and the things you can't control that appear in your knowledge panel. This video is full of quite a few different little tips. So I've got some really nice little tips I'm putting in as I go through. So you want to watch the whole of this video because you won't want to miss one bit of it. So first of all, let me show you a knowledge panel. So if I do a search for my business name in Google, and the knowledge panel appears on the right hand side. So that's what a knowledge panel is. And what we're going to do is we're going to dissect and find out where's all this coming from, where's all this information coming from, and how can I control it, and what things can I control and what things can't I control. Now let me just show you one of the things first of all. If I do a search on Google Maps and I do a search for, say, window cleaner pole, I just want to show you first of all that the word pole gets picked up in other areas. So here, for example, this was a person who did a review on the Roo window cleaning, and they mentioned the word pole. And this is why I've been saying over the last few months, make sure that your reviews include keywords too, if you can encourage them to do so. And as if you go through here, you'll see it picks up again, window cleaning pole, but this time it's just information it's got from one of the posts, and again, another review here and so on. And in fact, if you go to so I did here a plumber, leaks, fix, just use a couple of keywords here on Google Maps. And again, you've got reviews mention it, but also things like your website. So their website mentions leak and fix. And again, you've got website down here as well. So just bear in mind that where your keywords appear, whether it's in your description, so whether you include it in your description of your business profile, whether you include it in one of your posts that you've added, so when you add a post here, or whether you include it in your website, Google is picking these things up. And I think it's fair to say that Google My Business is updating constantly the layouts. So just when you think you've got everything in place and it makes some sense, then there's a reshuffle around, you get that Picasso look, and suddenly it's all over the place again. It's like a modern art piece that keeps changing. But the more information you get into Google My Business backend and into their database, the more times you'll have your information appearing when they put something new out. So that's why I've always said, even if it doesn't appear, try and put in the products, put in the offers, put in the posts, put in the images, put in the cover images, put in the videos, all those things, because when it draws those things, you're already going to have that in its database. What we're doing is we're really echoing what Ricky Skaggs said when he said, I can't control the wind, but I can adjust the sail. And that's what we're doing. We're looking to see which way is Google blowing today, and we'll adjust our sail to make sure that we get the maximum amount of benefit from that wind, from that projection, from that ranking benefits that will come if you have that information in there. Now at this point, it's always good if we could get you to input your information too in this video. So in the comments down below on this video, let me know, what is it that you've noticed that's changed? What is it that you've perhaps tried to put into Google My Business and it suddenly is no longer there? What is it you're struggling with to get on your knowledge panel? Put it down below, and then we'll see if we can help, and we'll see what other comments come in as well. But if you're finding it difficult, let me know, because the knowledge panel I think is quite tricky. Quite often people on this video will say that they've tried to find something that's mentioned in a video and it's no longer there. Well, obviously that's one of the key things, isn't it? It's to bear in mind that things do constantly change with Google. And why do things change? Well, Google says it's experimenting. So the Google My Business panel, knowledge panel, is constantly changing because Google's trying to understand how it affects people's habits, and it's also trying to understand what categories benefit from certain types of layouts. So you'll notice restaurants have a different layout to hotels, which have a different layout to doctors, they have a different layout to window cleaners. They're all different what they offer. So Google is experimenting with different layouts, different information, and it's even experimenting where it gets the information from when it pulls it in. And that's the detail we're going to look at now, is we're going to look at all those smaller little areas that you may have not considered as to where the detail is, where Google's getting it from, and how you can adjust your sale so that you maximize that wind that Google's blowing in that direction. So at this stage, it's always good to just go through a few questions that you need to ask yourselves. Questions to be honest with, we call this section. And the first one is, do you know where everything comes from on your Google My Business listing, your knowledge panel? So if you looked at your knowledge panel and thought, yeah, I know where all that information's come from. Now, if you haven't done that, then after this video, go away, look at your branding and then see if you can recognize where Google's got that information from. And if you find that there's something there you can't control, then it might be good to know where it's coming from so you can control it. Have you got the images showing on your knowledge panel? So the cover image, have you controlled that? There's tricks you can do. You can go into your photos and you can then say, this is the photo that I want to be the cover image. And also if you add that cover image to your free website, if you make that the cover image there, Google normally within 24, 48 hours will pick that image up. And if it's clearly the cover image you want, then most of the time Google will then present that image on your knowledge panel. So that's a nice little tip there to bear in mind. And a real obvious tip here, a question to ask yourself is, do you actually control your Google My Business listing? Now that might be an obvious question for the majority of you that are joining me on a regular basis on these videos. But if you're new to this video, obviously subscribe down below, give this a like if you like the video, and then make sure you come back because we look at all sorts of tips like this. But that'd be my biggest tip to you, is you might have it where you've not actually claimed your Google My Business listing. So you'll see there'll be a little link there that gives you the opportunity to claim it. You just have to prove that it's your business. They'll send you a postcard through to the address of the business. And then once you've then got your business claimed, you then can fully control the majority of the things through the Google My Business backend. So if that's all a bit confusing to you, then there are plenty of videos that I've done that are for beginners. So if you do Zanet design in a search in YouTube and then perhaps put beginners or Google My Business beginners, Zanet design, then the videos to help you to get your business up and running will help you there. So don't miss that if you're new to this channel. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at a few knowledge panels and I'm going to try and dissect where everything's coming from. So follow along. Some of these businesses will be perhaps more closer to yours, others may not. But there's some nice little tricks and a couple of tools in here you're going to really enjoy. So let's jump straight in. So what do we see here then? So I've done a search for pure Indian cooking. This is the knowledge panel. I've got it slightly larger because it makes it a little bit easier for us to see. And as we go through here then, so the photographs are just picked through the photos that you upload. But you'll notice quite often Google uses a map, and especially on things like restaurants, because most people will click on this and it'll take them straight through to Google Maps. And you'll notice here a couple of things then that come up. The Google reviews, of course, the number of reviews and the stars, that's down to what you have when you ask people to give you a review. So you can control that. You can control the link for your website. You can control directions because that's based on the information you've entered when you registered the business. And if, of course, you're a service, then you don't get the directions part because it doesn't reveal your address. And save and call are just standard for all. The logo, again, that's another one in images. You upload that and then you give it the information that it's the logo. Now, the pound bit you can't control. That's done through Google users, people that visit the restaurant. They control whether they think it's expensive or cheap. And the category here, modern Indian restaurant, is the primary category. Let me just show you how you can find out about primary categories and what other categories. So it could be that this is given several other categories as well, but Google doesn't reveal that. But there is a great little tool here that will reveal it. So I've just done a search here for those plumbers. If I go to my GMB or Everywhere audit and click on that, and what this does, it just gives me information about the primary category, which is a star, and also then all the other categories. So if I was to do a search for these plumbers here, for instance, it's obvious that they've got plumber as the main, but this one's a gas engineer. So you might just look at the other categories and think, actually, I think my category is wrong. I think a boiler supply might be a better one. This really gives you a lot more information about what you might want to appear under. Now, if we do a search for Pure Indian, that's its main primary category, but it could be several other categories here too. So you might want to control the secondary categories if they're relevant to you. The reserver table is to do with a third-party booking facility that only restaurants and certain hotels, and perhaps there are other businesses as well. So depending on the category you choose, if you choose a restaurant category, then Google will give you extra information in your back end. So that's how you get that button. But of course, other businesses will have a booking button. So it could be that if you're a service, you can have a booking button here, and that will just be a case of then linking through to a calendar on your website. And this information here, warm, relaxed and family run, this isn't something you can control. This is something Google adds in through user experience as well that appears. And then of course you do control the address, you do control some of the service options. This might be a combination of your input and also what others say as well. So others can add that when they're asked. So there's people like people that work for Google, and it could also be, there could be local guides as well, add information to here as well. Opening hours, of course, you can control those, and always good to update it. Updated by business 5 days ago. That's really great. So that just shows you that, again, when you update your hours, it gives a signal to Google. The fact that Google says that gives the impression that it's obviously noted it, which says that you're around, your business is working well. The menu, so you can actually have a PDF here, which is what they've got. So they've got a PDF. If I open this up, you'll just see it takes them through to a PDF, which is a really, again, another good signal to Google that you've done that the right way. Phone number, reservations, again, opening through different third parties, ordering through third parties as well. And this is again how Google gets a lot of information by people suggesting edits. If anything's wrong, then it can be optimized. You'll see in yesterday's video or one of the previous videos, we speak about the red dots and the orange text, and that's because people make suggestions and changes. Local guides do that all the time too. And you can share some information. So that's, again, as a local guide, I can put some information in here if I want to. See all the questions. Now, questions and answers is something that you can deal with. So you can ask your own questions. You can also see what other questions people have asked. If you get a question that's not been answered, then answer it. Again, don't know if keywords make a lot of difference in the FAQs or Q&As, but these, again, you want these on your website as well, because Google will draw from your website. Quite often if I ask a question, so say if I use the words, do you have a menu? As soon as you start typing, Google now starts looking. So it's gone to here, a review, and it's saying, is this helpful? And another review, because why does it go to these? Because these mention the word menu. So Google's really getting information. And if we kept saying, yes, this one's helpful, Google will start to use that as the answer to that question. So it's building up an intelligence about answering questions about your business as well. So that's just something else to bear in mind. Now I'm just working through here. So popular times, Google kind of works this out again based on traffic, based on Google just picking up information through when people are booking, when users are there. It's hard to know, a bit like Google traffic on Google Maps as well, how Google gets this information, but it certainly adds that if it feels it's relevant to a business. Reviews from the web. So this is what I've been saying about the importance that Google doesn't like to just take its own word for it, but it also likes to make sure that it's got other indexes and information on the web about your brand, about your business as well. Where does it get this information from? What makes it choose to put these ones in? Well, a lot of that is down to how they rank in the Google Business Review. So if these are kind of really high ranking, like Facebook is, OpenTable is, then they may well appear here. And then it's a bit random. So even if you've got bad reviews, it will still appear there. So you want to be able to control these. So if you notice these three are coming up, then you want to just make sure that you've got control over these as well. So it's very easy sometimes to be sidetracked with Google reviews and 4.6, but sometimes you want to make sure that Google likes to re-emphasize what others say about you on the web. These reviews are randomly picked by Google. It'll be based on not the ratings, but just on the information. So once it's picked these, generally they stay there for good, but they do sometimes get updated. But those are, again, important to just bear in mind. You can't really control that. And then this is the description that you do write. So you know that you've got up to 750 characters you can write. So just bear in mind the first 250 characters are saying a lot about your company. So you might want to include some keywords in there. You might want to put some information that really entices people to come to your business. And then we see eventually here an offer. So again, you know how to control offers. We've looked at that. And again, it's an offer because it has a tag here as well. That's really useful. And then one of the biggest problems we have is profiles. How do you get your LinkedIn, your Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and there's others as well you can have here. How do you get them on there? Well, Google decides if it's being used regularly, if it supports your business, then randomly Google will allow certain ones to appear. So I know for me, I'm frustrated the fact that I don't have my YouTube channel here. It was there for a while. I've no idea why they've removed it, but that's probably my largest amount of information I put out about my business, and yet it doesn't come up, which is a bit frustrating. And then finally, people also search for, Google's just trying to put out other information, and it thinks that if you're looking for a restaurant, but this isn't the one you want, then these might be the ones you want also. And these are views in themselves because they've appeared, even though I might not have clicked on it, it is a view as well. And then again, some predictable information Google thinks you might be interested in as well. So that's how that's produced. So that's all kind of, even these bits at the bottom are all part of your knowledge panel. So with Pure Indian here, for example, I've got the information, but and I can reserve a table from within Google Maps. Let's just see what happens if I then put on the, so we know it's Modern Indian Restaurant, but now refresh it. So Modern Indian Restaurant was the first one, but it also had, so here's the missing ones, Fine Dining Restaurant and Vegetarian Restaurant were the two missing categories as well. So that's how you can control what categories you want, but notice it picked up on the first one, Modern Indian Restaurants. That's a really helpful tool from Google My Business, GMB everywhere. So the next one, the 5 fields then. So another restaurant, and just looking for any difference. So here you've got reserve a table, you've got same type of information as before. Sometimes give other information as well, like a 3-minute walk from the gallery. So it just gives it perhaps some local information as well. Again, you've got your menu. In this case, if I click on the menu, it just goes through to their website, and then on their website, they've got their menu there. So there's more than one way to do that. Let's go to another one. This one's Paulton's Park. So Paulton's Park. So here very much about how do you get there, people wanting directions. So a nice big direction panel here. And then you've got one of the rides. Again, Wikipedia gets pulled in on this one. So you'll find for perhaps larger companies or very popular companies, then Wikipedia also gets pulled in for the information. And then if we come down here, all these things, again, are pretty standard. A couple of extra things here. They can put in how many hectares or how much area is covered, how many roller coasters, how many water rides. So a few extra bits there. Operating season. Again, these are things that are only applicable to that category of amusement park. So Google is beginning to refine what certain categories can show and what information they can show. But here you notice events is more important for a theme park. So if you add events, you get this extra section here, and questions and answers obviously come up here, which we saw on the restaurant. And then here you've got a list of the rides. So you can actually click on each one of these, and let's just click on one, dig a ride. Let's click on that. So that's got its own little knowledge panel as well that you can go into and find out a bit more about. So that's interesting. You've got this linkage between different mini knowledge panels from the big daddy large one. Reviews, again, comes up, information here. If you ever wonder what these stars are, that's because they're local guides, and local guides get quite a lot of extra authority when they review. This is their 250 characters taken out from what they've described their park as. But you notice it's much further down the page than the Wikipedia one is, which is what other people say about it. So that's given a much more authority than what they say about it. Then you've got, again, an offer here, best price offer, and this is then just an update as well. And then they've got more on their profiles. They've managed to get a YouTube channel as well. And then the people search for a related search. You've got two types of different connections there. And then we've got the standard search stuff down below. Let's just take one final one. So we've gone for a frozen yogurt and bubble tea shop in Bournemouth. So again, we've got the expense, bubble tea store, might be the primary category here, reviews they can control. They've got their logo, they've got the map, their own photographs and the shop front as well. To order, that again comes from them signing up through third-party information. And you notice here, people typically spend 20 minutes here. So Google's monitoring the time period that people wait. And I think, again, Google does send out to local guides, how long were you here for? Or did you have to wait long? It kind of picks up the data through those types of questions. And it's come up with their menu as well, so that's just nice. And then you've got, well, there's a nice little extra that I've not seen before. You can then click on that and see, it just takes them through. So Google's picked up from its image search what the menus are, and then it's then shown it there in the knowledge panel. So that's interesting, not seen that before. So hopefully there's some interesting points in there. Maybe now you can see that the majority of that information you can control, but Google's very selective as to what it uses. So you want to make sure that you've got all that information in there ready for Google to pick on when it wants it. So what is it that you can actually do today for your business that's going to help it? 3 things that we're going to look at. First of all, check out to see what others are doing on their knowledge panel. So just bear in mind, it needs to be in the same category as you. As we saw, some categories do get extra things added that you can't control. So for your category that's similar to your competitors' categories, see what they're doing and then try and replicate that, or certainly get your own version of that showing. So that what you want to do is you want to expand your knowledge panel as quickly as you can. If you can't find something, it could be that they've just got a slightly different category to you. So you may want to use that GMB everywhere to see what categories they're using. It could be their primary category is different. And if you then choose that as your primary category, it then may open up something that you can do, something that could be shown on your knowledge panel. So it might be worth changing your primary category if it makes sense to your business. And my final challenge would be, see if you can get a full house. See if you can get every single thing in your knowledge panel showing. And if you can do it in a positive way, then that's going to be a win-win situation. But as you've seen, Google does take a lot of authority from third-party information, from review sites, and it also takes a lot from your website. And your website also has its own authority. So how can you improve the authority of your website? And what tricks are there that you can do with your Google My Business free website so you can get some link juice from there and authority from there over to your own website and branding? Well, tomorrow's video is going to show you how you can do that. I'll see you tomorrow.